Okay, so looks like we've started recording. Um, what we're doing here is we're going through the process of um, writing user stories for the Santa Barbara. We're starting with the living room, and let's see the user story that we're going to start with is refinishing sanding the floor. This is the living room. Okay, and we're saying that it might take how many hours? 2 hours.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so 2 hours. So every point is considered as 2 hours. So 2 points would be 4 hours. So we're estimating 2 hours just sanding the floor, living room. Okay, and then we're gonna assign a certain theme, meaning an epic to it, and that would be living room. Okay, right here. So after every activity, sanding, staining, and polythene, we have to kind of give it 1 day apart.
Yep. The stain needs time to dry, and then before we could polyurethane, that'll also need.
So
Um,
let's do another activity. Okay, so we put it in the ice box. So accordingly, then we have to kind of try and clone this. If there was a way, clone this. Sorry, so we're gonna clone it. In here, refinishing, and then staining. Right,
yes.
staining the floor. How many hours do you think that would? This is only for the living room right now.
About an hour.
So we'll try to keep it 2 hours gap. So let's say 1 point, we're staining it, the living room, okay?
Hmm.
And we've got the epic assigned to it, and we go ahead and just close. So we got staining, right? Sanding, we didn't put any hours. Sanding is what, 1 point? That was two, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then again, we did the standing, sanding, and what else? Now we're going to be doing
Polyurethane. It just seals it and protects
refinishing.
it.
Polyurethane. 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 Poly.
URTHINE.
POLE.
POLYUR
Mm-hmm.
A T H. You got it.
Okay. Polyureth. The floor
And
living room. And this is again 2 hours or what?
yep.
Okay.
It won't take that long, but I would do it all in a. I would do the whole floor evenly throughout the whole house.
Yeah, but
But
we're trying to break
breaking
each
down.
and every task separately so that we can then move these user stories and prioritize. That's the whole idea.
Sure.
You want to coordinate and orchestrate with all the different people coming in and out and making sure that everything is done in a timely fashion. And what does
Absolutely.
this process do?
This seals and protects the floor, and it'll give it a brand new finish. So we have choices. We can go lighter or darker.
Okay, so we got that. Okay, so this is to do with, oh, we didn't clone it. My bad. So what was the other one? Sanding, and then the first one, the next one was
Staining.
staining.
Yep.
We'll have to clone this. So staining the floor. Okay. Okay. So we got staining, sanding, polyureth, living room. So these are the different user stories or activities that are going to be done for the living room. Um, I'm just going to put this ice box somewhere else. Let's see this. I'm just going to put it in a backlog right now because I just want to keep on doing it fresh. We're not
Yes,
going to
sir.
worry about this for the Santa Barbara and the living room. Okay, so now we got the floor. What about the side of the walls? Are we going to be painting that also, or what?
We have to scrape it. We have to scrape the peeling paint, and then we have to do a little bit of mud work, wet plaster.
Okay, let's do that. So let us try and clone it now. This will be refinishing the floor. Now this is the walls, right? So the walls, refinishing walls. So what are the different three processes that we have to go through for the walls here?
We're gonna scrape it.
Refinishing, scraping. Okay,
We're gonna scrape the peeling paint.
scraping the floor. Okay, scraping the walls of the living room. Of the living room. Okay. So we're gonna scrape and how much time does that take?
Less than an hour.
So we'll just keep it 1 point. And again, this is to the living room.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I should have cloned it. So, anyways, so that became. So it will become two of it. Scraping walls of the living room. Let's change it here. What did we overwrite? It was refinishing, right?
Yeah.
Sanding, staining, polyurth. We kind of messed up.
Oh, you cloned it and
Yeah.
deleted it.
Sanding and cloning. Okay, so what was it? Polyurth, right? Oh, what's this now? Sorry, I want to be able to clone this part, right? Sanding, staining. So we're going to clone this. Polyurth. Okay. So we got all the refinishing done. We got the scraping of the walls.
So now we gotta do 2 coats of mud, wet plaster.
One sec. Scraping of the walls, and then what else
Oh,
after that?
we're gonna do wet plaster. It's gonna
Wet
even
plaster.
out. It's gonna even out where the paint was peeling. So
Wet
once we
plaster.
paint it, it'll
Okay.
look even.
This process evens out what?
Um, I would give it 2 to 3 hours.
Hold on. We're not talking about hours. We're just collecting activities that we need to do right now. Just
Gotcha.
keep on doing all the list of activities. Then we can prioritize. Okay, so what does this process do? Wet plaster?
It's gonna even out the walls to a seamless finish. It's basically prepping it for paint.
Okay. So now we got the wet plaster, the walls of the living room. Okay, so we got that. Let me move. We got refinishing, scraping, wet plaster, the walls. What else after that?
Um, the well, we're gonna want the trim to match. So we're also gonna have to sand and seal the trim.
What's that?
I would like to do the wet plaster work before we do the floors.
No, we're not prioritizing what we're gonna. We're just dumping. Icebox is a place where you come up with all the list of activities that we got to do for a certain epic. Right now, we're in the living room, so we're just
Gotcha.
coming up all the activities. then the prioritization will come in the backlog, what comes first and second. But at
Okay.
least let's list down all the to dos in a certain in a certain epic or theme, if you will.
Okay.
So you did the wet plaster, you did the scraping the walls, and what else now?
Um, well, we're gonna be scraping the ceilings also. It has some
Scraping the
really,
wall,
it has some really nice cove features, like a nice,
scraping the ceilings of the wall. Okay, of the
yeah, also
scraping
ceilings.
ceilings of the wall. Okay, of the living room. This is again, how much time will this take? We'll worry about the timing later. Let's just list down all the list of activities to be done.
Sure.
Scraping the ceilings of the living room. Okay. So you got scraping of the walls of the living room, refinishing, staining, sanding. We got sanding twice. We don't need sanding twice there, so we're just going to remove that. So you got refinishing 3 times. You got wet plaster, scraping the walls of the living room, scraping the ceilings, wet plaster of the walls. What else?
We're still in the living room.
And then light fixtures in the living room has to be changed,
Yeah,
right?
I would remove it before. I would remove it during the prep work.
The living room. Okay, this would be like what? Again, we're not going to be doing any, but we just need to assign it to the living room.
Right. That's a quick job. It's just a matter of popping a ladder in place and climbing up there, and
What
I'll bring
else?
wire
Sorry.
nuts.
What else do we need to do for the living room? We covered pretty much everything. We got the walls, we've got the ceiling. What about a fan? A fan needs to be added there.
Yeah, a nice ceiling fan would be nice. That would be nice.
Ceiling fan.
Or
For,
just a new light fixture.
that comes under light fixtures that we just talked right now, right?
Yeah. That pretty much wraps up the living the it's actually the entryway of the living room.
So this
'Cause
is all living room done, right?
yeah,
Let's go to the next one. I think would be the dining room, right?
there's
Is there
it's
anything else in the living room that we need to worry about?
there's actually like two living rooms. There's like a there's like a formal living room with a fireplace, and then a there's a foyer, and you're walking into a double door.
So the one what we described was the living room that we just walk into it, right?
Yep. I think the first room you walk into is the dining room, and then the living room is off to the right. But
Okay. You sure about that?
yeah, because it has this the little nook in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I think the room with the little nook is the dining room. It has a nice little shelf there that we can work into the project. We could save that.
So maybe rather than a living room, we just say dining room.
I think it's it kind of runs into the same room.
Living room.
Between those two rooms, there's just a few hours of scraping and mudding. It's not going to take too long.
So are these all user stories right now we talked about was the living room or what?
Yeah, Yeah, I think we're on the right track.
Okay, so we're done with the living room. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this all these user stories into the backlog into the you know CSV. I'm gonna move all of them into a backlog here, and we'll start kind of adding some hours and things later. Right. Okay. So I've moved all of that here. Now, so we got to start with what else do we need to start now? We're done with the living room.
We're gonna demo out the kitchen.
Demo the kitchen. Why is that?
Are you saving the cabinets? Or are we
No, let's do the kitchen later. Let's talk about the dining room now.
okay.
So before we start on the talk about the dining room, I'm going to stop this video. So we've covered the living room now. So let's go ahead and stop the radio off.